All right. See my heater? That's my favorite new thing right here, my heater. I love it. I love that heater. Um, Makes me feel like I'm sitting next to my fireplace in my old house. Um, I was going to try to have something go on, but Ham's at rehab. I think he just called me. I was on a phone call, so I couldn't prepare. Um, I did so I'm not prepared. I don't have a laundry list of things to say. I am going to take a train to New York City tomorrow morning, uh, early. I tried to get every ticket was gone uh, on the Acela. So the regional, there's a 5:05 a.m. regional. I tried to get on it. I couldn't, but I didn't really try again. Maybe I could have. I don't know. So I'm on the another regional, and I get there at 10 o'clock. Um, but I have a huge caveat. A huge caveat. I have to get my dog to an overnight, a place to leave him overnight tonight, because I can't leave him alone here. Um, and he couldn't walk this morning. When I took him on his walk, he couldn't walk. So if he's in duress, I'm going to cancel my trip. But I'm live now. I'm sure Ham will come on. I've got a couple of things to do. I have until 7 o'clock tonight to take care of that, and I'm going to do my best. But I don't know how much he can be so vibrant in a very contained way for a while, and then he can't move. He just collapses. And I don't know if I have to choose between going to New York or being here for my dog, it's a pretty easy choice for me. But anyway, I'm planning to go up for that interview tomorrow. Uh, I don't, before Ham comes on, God, I'm not set up well. I do remind everybody, you'll probably think broken record. I strongly recommend that this week, if you want to buy or add to Nixie, Sexy Nixie, NIXX, NIXX, it's 265. It's not moving right now, and I think that's a lull in action that gives you a chance to buy that stock. I think it'll be 5, then 8, then teens, then 20, then maybe as high as 30, 40, 50. And but I don't think you'll be able to buy it with as little downside risk, in my judgment, looking at the charts, as you can right now. And don't expect it to turn around in 15 minutes. It'll take a week. It'll take 2 weeks. Could it go lower? Sure, maybe. I doubt it. But it could. It's lower. Somebody sold a bunch on Friday from $3. And I fully expect the back and forth of what shorts do. But if you want my favorite trade for year end, it's Sexy Nixie, NIXX, Nixie.com, Nixie.com, 265. I think you can 10x your money in that one, 10x. We'll talk about the others. I'll let Ham talk about those. And let me just see if this is an easy read to you. Well, I ordered a copy of one of Richard Heinberg's books because mine is in storage. The Party's Over. And this guy, apparently his books were part of a lot of college classes. This was written in 2003. You can see how long I've been studying this. And his projection in this book on the outside was we would have peak oil around 2016. Well, it turns out we're now in 2024 and that hasn't happened. I want to talk about all that with you, but I also ordered a copy of this book. On page 264, Heinberg writes about the Saudi enigma, global spare production capacity, the amount which exporting countries, nations who have excess capacity of oil, global spare production capacity is now at its lowest point in recent decades. Reportedly, a mere 1 to 2 million barrels per day of total global output of 83 million barrels a day. Now, I haven't had time to look it up. I've been focused on other things. I think now, all right, here's Han. Hello?
Where are you?
I'm at home. Let me see if I can put you on the speaker so you can talk.
I knew you'd be live. I knew it. I smelled it.
I haven't for very long.
We're going live.
It's 5 minutes.
Tell my family.
5 minutes. Let's do it live. Let's do it live.
William's hooking up to Starlink. He's got Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and me.
We'll do it live.
Connected to.
Stupid thing. We'll do it live. All right, should be able to talk. No, you're not. Sorry. It's there you go. You should be able to talk now.
Give me 1 second.
I'll answer the phone at a more convenient time for you.
I'm just telling people I'm going live. That's all I'm doing.
Oh, all right.
People ask me all the time, and I don't know when. I told them to join in now.
Join in now.
I've made a pretty bold statement to join in now. Someone just Johnny Tobacco. Let's see what he has to say here. He says, looks like there's going to come January a new sheriff in town. Stay tuned about MMTLP. You know, I just watched Johnny Tobacco. Johnny Tobacco has been, Pat Byrne pulled him in. He was a guy who gave up everybody on the street for naked short selling to help out Pat Byrne, and he helped him with the case against Goldman and Merrill Lynch, Johnny Tobacco. Anyway, William, let's start off. DJT. Who in their right mind keeps selling the stock? I don't know. I don't think people that own the stock would be selling it. The 60 million shares or whatever that's in the float, no one's selling it. Donald Trump isn't selling it. Who keeps selling it every day, 10 million shares a day? You know, again, I can't tell if they're buying and selling. I can't tell all those numbers, but it's pretty crazy how it's just not rallying up. It's just, I just can't believe it. And they should actually, everyone that is short the stock should have to have an answer and be brought in by the DOJ once Trump is sworn in for questioning, because some people were shorting versus the death threats, the assassination attempts, and that's pretty well known. You can all see that right there. All right, so again, I do believe that one day you're going to wake up, the DJT is going to be, $80, $100, whether it's a partnership or something. I even posted, why won't Elon Musk just buy the thing? Elon Musk has made more money by Trump being president than anything else. He's probably made $40 billion personally. To turn around and use the Tesla or whatever his Twitter stuff is, to just absorb it and just buy it out and take it in would be a great play anyway. So I always look at those cheap calls, William, the 40s. They're like 30 cents and 20 cents. It's worth it to own 10 of them and not miss it. God forbid it comes out, it comes 80.
What month?
You buy every month, every week.
Every week.
30 cents, the 40 cents, the $40 calls at 30 cents. 10 calls gets you for $300. If it ever gets taken over at 80, you make $40. You make $40,000 for $300. It's going to happen between here and November, in January when he's sworn in. Something's got to happen. Unless everybody's making sure it don't exist. But everyone says Trump is a money-hungry fool. Well, let's let him go get some of the money. Let him go take it. I have no problem doing that. Let him do what he has to do. But something's going to break there, and I think you're going to get a monster move. And instead of being at risk owning the stock and worry about these wild swings in it, you can just sit here and you buy 10 calls and just forget about it. If it happens, you kill them. If the stock jumps up 5 and you pay 30 cents for the 40s, there'll be 60 cents. When it goes like that, if you bought 10, you can sell 5 and you have 5 for free. That's the way to play it. I had someone, William, that is long that XRP, and they owned it, I think, 100,000 at 50 cents or 56 cents. I had them sell half of their position, 50,000 at 114. So what does that leave, William? 50,000 shares at a cost basis of what?
Zero.
That's correct. I
Actually,
said you can hold on to it for life. If you think it's going to be the next Bitcoin, whatever you think it is, you're doing it for free. All your money's off the table.
I mean, from a tax standpoint, that's not technically true, but
no,
from a trade standpoint, yes.
Listen, the name of the game is you got to keep doing that. So that's the way it is. So don't ever worry about taxes. Just keep raking in profit. Don't worry about the taxes. If you're going to trade stocks for taxes, I can introduce you to my friend Rhonda, who got wiped out because she didn't want to pay her taxes. And she had a stock that was 110, that went from 110 to 0. It took a while, but she didn't want to sell it because the taxes. She owned it like at $5 and ran it always up to 110. Refused to sell it because she didn't want to pay taxes. Thought it was going to go higher.
It's not my point. You asked what's the cost basis. You said 0.
Oh.
From a tax reporting on your taxes, that's not true because it's whatever you paid for it. But anyway, from a trading standpoint, you don't have any money in that trade anymore.
That's the most important thing. And you could have sold it all, doubled his money, or take half of it. If you really believe it's going to be the next Bitcoin, I have no idea about it. But you have to have that mentality when you're trading. The more positions you have, for the least amount of money, the better you're going to be. All right? Because when you start hitting these things with very little money on the table, that's when you knock them out cold. All right? Let's move on to finger motion. William's coming to New York City tomorrow. I hope to free up some. I have therapy, so I'm going to try to squeeze in there, but I don't know if I can. But if I can't make it, I wrote down a couple of questions again just to refresh your mind. Everyone, we want to know about the big data. When is that going to start to kick in? What's the time frame on that? We know it's not easy. And we want to know. Also, we want to know about the employees. What's their take on? What's their take on the attack on the company? How's the morale of the company? Are they still excited? That's always important. We want to know about the cost basis or the profit margin on that the emergency response vehicle thing that they're doing in China. How much do they make? Did they make $1? Did they make 10? Did they make 50,000 or 100,000? I have no idea. We've always heard it's a big number, so let's see what it's going to be. What was the other question I had? William? Oh, the special dividend, William. You can't forget that. The thing that's going to make us different from every stock out here is the special dividend. And if you just read Pat Byrne's final hurrah and overstock to the short sellers was a special dividend. All right, so that's an important part of what's going on here. We need to see that, and if you can get that information from them about when is it going to come, what's the holdup, and what's the breakdown of it, maybe he can tell you everything about it. So those are things that I wanted to see. I don't know what you wanted to see. So you need to know those 4 or 5 things. I'm sure you have a couple of other things that you could throw in there, but those are the major things that I see. Oh, one of the other things, William, is that with China, spending all kinds of money getting their economy going, how does that affect finger motion? Is it short term? Is it longer term? What's the effect on finger motion? Maybe you can give us some positives or negatives on how it works for them. I don't know. If the economy is booming, obviously people are spending. There's more data. I don't know if there's more on the charging stations with the electric cars. The people move around more. I don't know. Maybe you can ask that question. Is that a good one, William?
You didn't hear? They're switching to gasoline cars. No more electric in China.
No more electric. That's what it's like. But does any of those questions make sense?
That's all good. Hopefully, I'm awake.
Well, you got plenty of time to figure it out. Do you have anybody there have any questions, or everybody sound asleep?
Let me look and see.
People don't understand what's at stake here. There's going to be such a bloodbath for these criminal short sellers that are all over the place. And it's just amazing that the banks and these stocks are going up. It's funny that a lot of these stocks go up prior to the bad news. NVIDIA had a big squeeze all the way up, right? And then on this rumor of this bad news, it's been coming down. So it's really coming down from a higher number, right? I think it was 125. It went to 149. And now it's 139. People think it's selling off. It's down 10. So it seems like a lot of times they move these things up and they build in the negative stuff, and it takes it back to a certain level. I mean, that's just my vision of those things. I can't guarantee that. But look, I look at VIRT. The stock keeps moving up. It's 36 now. This company is worthless. When they do stock settlement, they have $6 billion worth of stocks that they sold and not repurchased yet. When those stocks go up, that $6 billion could be $20 billion in losses. That's the liability. That company doesn't have the money to back those trades. This thing will be a zero. So there's a lot of things at stake here. And I don't know whether Donald Trump is slowing the horses down because they know how deadly it's going to be. But the problem is that his stock is in the middle of this whole thing. And, he wants his pay too. And I think that's what people don't understand, that, what's the ingredient here is that Donald Trump's position in his stock is, affected by this stuff also. So what do you do? Think about that for a second. What exactly do you do? I mean, if he pulls the plug on the naked shorts, his stock is going to go. So many other companies are going to get destroyed. The brokerage industry is going to take a beating. There'll be people taking losses, going bankrupt all over the place. Does he give a shit about that? I don't know. I have no idea. But we're going to find out soon. Everyone on Twitter, if anyone goes on Twitter, William, it's just endless stop the fraud, stop the fraud, stop the fraud. Now, I know I'm in that naked short selling zone, but I've never seen so many comments before, retweets, this, that, the other thing. It's just out of control. I can't imagine, doing this from when I started till today. It's just like, I walk out, I had to go to rehab, and it's like, just people I don't even know fighting the cause now. And everyone else, it doesn't hurt. Just go say what you want to say on Twitter. Tell everybody what you see, what you feel. No one's going to bite you. We're all being robbed by criminals. We're reporting a crime to the police, and no one's coming to help us. That's what I see. So it's something that everybody needs to step up for. And if you don't do it, they're just going to steal from your kids, your grandkids, everyone. All right, so let me go back to the finger motion for a second. I see nothing else going on. It's very quiet. Nothing's really happening. I haven't made a decision on MLSS yet. I'll wait to figure that out. So when I give something, GDC and CJYL, they're all doing zero right now. If they turn, I'll report on it. I haven't seen anything yet. That rumor with GameStop, buying Bitcoin, that's been around for a few days. I don't know if it's true or not, but the stock does. The stock is finding a higher levels or higher, it's making higher lows. All right, that's the higher lows. So, I'm not a chart guy, but it keeps moving up, keeps spiking to 20. I think if it goes past 28 something, that's where it hit a couple of times already. I think it breaks through 30, I think it could be off to the races. And maybe he did buy Bitcoin. I don't know. If he did buy Bitcoin, I think he could really shock the whole street if he did it. Or if he did it, I think people know about it already because someone's been buying the stock. There's not even a question about that. Someone's been adding to it, or shorts covering. Something's going on because it has a completely different look. It doesn't have those wild swings when it broke down to it was below 20 at one point, $18 and $21 down there. It's moved out of that back up here again.
So
maybe
Bitcoin, I don't want to be negative just because I didn't buy it 10 years ago, but Bitcoin is in the news. Trump is supporting it. Everything is great. It's heading to 100,000. Couldn't be better. It could overshoot it. It could go to 115. But I just point out that when it's in those kind of environments that the rug gets pulled, and you got to learn to sell on the news. Everything's good. I'm not saying for an investment, for a trade. I don't know. I wouldn't stay long at the party, but hey, I was wrong on NVIDIA. It kept going up.
Listen, everyone on this phone call is wrong. Everybody makes wrong decisions. The only thing I can tell you is that you bought Bitcoin at 50,000, 60,000, 70,000 to sell it and then wait for a dip to buy it back. Those dips always come. Maybe one day you get a flush down to 80,000.
Kind of what I'm calling. That's exactly what I'm trying to point out.
I'm just saying that you sold it at 91, 92. You buy it back at 80, 82,000. This is not, nothing goes up 100% in 2 minutes forever. So just people take profits. It's the end of the year.
I do think using Ham, when Ham talks to you about a stock that's 90 cents and it goes to $2, he'll say to you, well, pretend it's a $9 stock. That's equivalent to, well, that's the same here with Bitcoin. Pretend it's a $90 stock. It'll go to 100. All 90. This is one of the absolute rules of the business. If a stock gets to 90, 91, it's going to 100.
Yeah, they drag up to they go right up to the zone. They go right up to the whole number. So they'll go to
they always do. I was listening to Mark Faber the other day talking about commodities and the market and et cetera. But he pointed out that Bitcoin and I think he used NVIDIA, all the money's going to these trades because they're moving. He said they haven't really put money in gold or because it doesn't move. People like action. That's what, and you know what? I thought about it. That's true. A lot of this money is that swing trading? I don't know. I guess day trading is when you get out during the day, and swing trading is when you do it the next day.
We're looking for the swing back up. It's swinging down, it's swinging back up.
It's buy the dip, sell the rip.
Buy the dip, sell the rip. All right, so just keep making money. I don't give you make a penny. This, that. Anyway, let's go back to finger for a second. I just had a thought, and I just wanted to get it off my chest. The finger motion short numbers, which I posted, they go down every day. The cost to carry is something that is expensive for the short seller to borrow shares. So the guy who short 1.7 million shares, let's call that Jeff Easton's mom. That's the real short. They're paying a fee every day. And as the stock trades up, the brokerage firm demands margin. That's why they knocked it down, because the stock started to trade to 235. They knocked it down. I lowered the number based on calculations of more short sales, more time, of course, to carry. So we're around 230 now. Give it another week or so. These guys have to pay all these fees. This thing number is going down to 225. By January 1, this thing could be 220. I mean, so their spread between death and life is getting very small. There's not much wiggle room here anymore. So that 1.7 is important, because right now they're in the black, 20 cents, 25 cents. But that number goes away every day. It gets less and less. All right? It starts out as a little fire in the corner, but it starts to get raging as it gets closer to that number. They will be the first to fold 1.7 million. Just keep remembering that. That's the real short. 1.7 million, average price is 230, and that number is going lower. Now, the naked short is the bigger number. It's 230 million, but that number is up around 380. That's taking in the high, the low over the last couple of years, everything in here. All right, so that number is doing the same thing. It is going lower. They have a cost to carry. They have expenses. It's like anyone. As soon as you open your eyes in the morning, you put the heat on, you put the lights on. Everything starts to cost money as soon as you open your eyes. Same thing with the naked short. They're paying fees too. I don't know those fees though, so it's hard for me to calculate. So I kind of leave that number up a little higher. But that number is dropping too. I wouldn't be surprised if that would be about 360 in January 1. So that number is going lower. So the most they can make is 360 to 0. All right, if they stay. The real short, the most they can make is 220 to 0, or 2.25 to 0. So their profit is disappearing. The trade doesn't even make sense to be here. So now if the company can perform, which we'll find out tomorrow, of all the little things they got going on, which I kind of believe they're going to be good. But I also think that if the company performs, and the new government, with President Trump coming in and everybody else, what they're doing here with Devin Nunes, they're not going to let this DJT just get slaughtered by these guys. They had their friends buying it. So the hammer's going to come. So that, so we have a big brother on our side here. And I think it's going to work out great. That's it. So you got to find your stock, go find what you want to do. And I do believe that you have infinite upside in finger motion. Infinite. Like, the only reason they're still holding it down and not covering is because they cannot cover. Just think about that, everybody. You're short. You're looking at the stock. It's traded at 67,000. What did I tell you the volume in this stock is going to be? Right around 40, 50,000. That's a normal day in the stock. Not 300,000 a day, because those are all phony numbers. This is what a normal day is going to look like in the stock once we get rid of these animals. It's going to trade like this. How are you going to cover? How are you going to cover 1.7 million when there's no volume, there's no selling, no sellers? And you can say to yourself, well, show me an example. Your big mouth, show me an example. Well, I can give you an example right off the top of my head. ROOT, which is a stock that's been bent over and raped by the short sellers. How do I know? Because my friend owned it. I told you that, and I put out a report to Jim Jordan about Root. I did that. The stock was $40. It squeezed to 120 about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Then they pulled the plug on it. It dropped back down to 65. And then I told you the other day they started to come back again to classic short covering. That is a controlled short covering, meaning they're doing it slow and steady, but they're covering. They're throwing the towel in. That's what you're seeing in Root. That's not longs chasing a stock up like crazy. Well, that stock went from 40 to 120 to 65. And today, after I reported it last week again, I've been bringing attention to it. It's now up another $8 on 500,000 shares. $8 on 500,000 shares. Finger motion, everyone on these calls, everyone involved is well aware of what's going on. The guy buying 1.7 million, he'll be paying 20 to try to cover his stock. This is a $96 stock that's up $5 on 500,000 shares. It's up $8. Who's in rushing to get out of finger motion if you know what's going on? Not many people are going to rush to get out. It's very different. Everyone's educated about it. And this is the difference between a root and a finger motion. Right? GameStop, there's people that are holding the stock. I got it. They get credit, hold on forever. But there's now a lot of people that are buying the dip, selling the rip. So it's basically a trading stock. DJT has that same trading mentality in it. Buy the dip, sell the rip, buy cheap calls. You buy them for free. That's what I try to tell people to do all the time. It's a trading stock. Finger motion has not given anyone an inch to try to trade it because they just keep offering it lower. And the only reason they keep offering it lower is because the margin. They can't let it go up. And there's your complete full circle on the whole thing of breaking down finger motion versus these other names. If you have another name that you want me to look at, I could show you and explain to you versus that name. But these are names that I studied. Any questions for him?
Yeah, apparently well, someone is asking, before I move on from it, any whispers on MLSS? Thank you.
Yes, the whisper is that I haven't found out yet. I got calls into a few people that are close to the situation, and I'll try to find an answer. I haven't followed it as closely. I told you I paid 101, and I'm sitting here waiting. I haven't made a decision about buying more. I'm waiting. So I just watched finger motion just drop from $2 to 202. I think 100 shares traded, and all the bids left. The $2 bid left at 199, 198. Now there's no bid, and it's 196. That's their way of trying to make it look like it's going lower. They dropped the bids, William. You understand? It was 2 bid. All of a sudden, the 2 bid is gone. Now it's 196. You say, oh my God, the stock's going to be down another 4 cents if they trade it there. What do? They trade it there. It goes from $2 to 196 or 195, whatever that number is.
I'm just looking at the news on MLSS, and apparently the big item was there was going to be approval of an epidural. That hasn't happened yet. They had their strong revenue growth, etc. And of course, criminals, everyone, you don't want to believe it, but any news, whether it's good revenues, flat revenues, down revenues, they're going to sell. They're going to make you believe good news is bad news. They're going to make you believe bad news is bad news. Any news is bad news. So that's life. But anyway, I just observe, if it's true there was going to be something about the epidural, it's not out yet. So anyway, let Ham find out about that.
Yeah, I'll dig into it. I don't have any answers for it yet. I told you I haven't done anything yet. I'm trying to find out. It was the weekend, and I couldn't get in touch with anybody.
Yeah,
So
I don't.
the damage is done to me.
I do not think. Go ahead. Sorry, I talked over you. My ear is blocked.
No problem. I said this is the same pattern that happened to me in GDC. I bought it first leg too high, but I pulled the trigger and I caught it near the bottom, and that's what turned it into a very profitable trade.
Yeah, it might be something to double up.
I don't know yet. I don't know yet.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm waiting
Donnie, I do not think Patrick Burns will be the head of the SEC. I'll let Ham give you his opinion.
Yeah, so Pat Burns is a pretty weird guy, and you guys don't know, he's been diagnosed with cancer 4 times, fought it and beat it 4 times. So obviously he's been saying his health isn't doing great. So you have to attribute it that whatever the health issue is, it's that. And that's the only reason that this guy doesn't want to take a full-time position. He did state on Twitter, if you read it, that he would do the first 100 days, but doesn't want to be there forever. So keeping the campaign on him and having Trump knowing about him. Pat Byrne, I put up this movie. This guy knows every gory detail about how these criminals operate. You can watch the movie. I put it up on Twitter. Devin Nunes is a great guy. He loves to investigate. But Devin Nunes, you got to be careful. I don't know if he knows everything about it. Sometimes when he speaks, he doesn't say the words that I want to hear. And I'm not sure if he understands it all, if it's just too quick for him. I just don't understand it. I don't know him at all. Patrick Byrne knows every gory detail. We watched the guys. Pat Byrne broke up the attorneys that were suing public companies after the short and distort attacks. They had a group of attorneys that were suing Milberg Weiss. They were suing the public companies to get their directors of liability insurance money. So Milberg Weiss knew, for example, I'll just take an example. Andrew Luck is going to write a negative story about NVIDIA. This guy would have someone go out there and buy 1,000 shares in NVIDIA just before the story. And you say, why? They know the stock's going to go down. Well, Joe Blow would go out there and buy 1,000 shares in NVIDIA. He'd sell it and lose $15,000, let's say.
Wow.
Then Milberg Weiss would come out and say, anyone who lost money that wants to be the lead plaintiff against the management, and those people would be the first people to sign up all the time. And Pat Byrne said, how did these people all know to buy the stock? Obviously, the connection was Milberg Weiss was having friends of theirs buy the stock, and they were the lead plaintiffs against the company. They would sue the company for a ton of money, and this guy would make money being the lead plaintiff, make his money back, and I'm sure Milberg Weiss did what they had to do. But Pat Byrne busted that ring, and the guy went to jail. That's just a different twist. You guys don't even realize how deep this stuff goes.
There's interesting here, Ham. You probably know about it, but Bryant says there's a series on NBC called The Jackal on Peacock. The Jackal has a contract on a guy so the Jackal's an assassin. He has a contract on a guy who's trying to bring stock transparency to the market. And the price on that guy's head is $100 million.
Wow.
That's how much money is in this business.
The number we're hearing is $25 million. And it's been relayed from Patrick Byrne to a friend of mine that's the amount on his head. And he said that he was going to come back to the U.S. when Trump is sworn in because that's when he can get protection. He says it on Twitter. You can go see it. It's on Twitter. I reposted it. Go to Pat Byrne's Twitter feed. You can see he says that his health isn't that great, and he's afraid to come back in the U.S. because there's a dollar amount on his head.
All the doorknobs at his hotels will be 5 feet off the ground. That's how they found that chef. That tall chef hung himself on a doorknob, and he's 6 feet tall. Anyway, that Bourdain or whatever. There's shit that goes on. Finger has gone to position closing only today on IG index. IG, I don't know what that is. Interactive Brokers, maybe in the United Kingdom. It's interesting news there. They started a $15 finger call. Somebody said, if I can find that.
They do that when they start options way out. Like to January of 2026, they just want to make sure that when this goes, that there's options and they can do something to hedge their positions. So the market makers are the ones that control those options. They can call the exchange and notify them, hey, we need to get the $15 strike on this or whatever. So they're the ones dictating that. The company is an option. Who the hell needs an option on an option? If you go back to The Big Short with Selena Gomez, and she was playing blackjack, and she was making bets at the blackjack table, and the people behind were making bets off of Selena Gomez's bet. This is what they're doing. It's the whole thing is so systematic. Risk is just off the charts on everything. It's just crazy. But again, this is for everyone. This is super important because it's gonna. I understand you guys. Everyone on the phone has money at stake. I got it. But this needs to be safe for your kids and your grandkids. Like my daughters are investing. I'm helping them, and they get caught all the time. Nothing's fair. They get caught, and if they were doing this by themselves, they'd be wiped out. They'd be wiped out already.
It might not have been IBKR. It might have been somewhere else. Because Lee is buying finger on IBKR in the UK. I don't know. Anyway, it's closed only somewhere.
That's true. When they want nothing to do with the headache, that's what they do.
That's what they do in the metals markets when they short it all to hell. With the Hunt brothers, they did it. You have a contract in futures, a call to buy the metal. If you ask for it, you get it. But when they get in trouble, they switch all those to settle in cash. They change the rules. They change everything. They just change.
I've never seen a game where the rules just change in favor of the people that are committing the crimes.
Always.
Just remember, what do we always say? Who's doing what? Does the dog wag the tail or the tail wag the dog? That's how you have to look at it.
So how do you read MLSS has a 10-cent, 11-cent spread? What does that mean to you? 66 to 68. I guess that means stay away right now, right?
What, MLSS?
Yeah, 66 to 68.
Listen, whoever was selling it sold it.
Yeah.
You can listen, if it was everybody on this phone, when you sell your stock, guess what? Bon voyage, you're done. That's it. You can't sell it 3 times. You can only sell it 1 time.
Right.
You're gone. That's the end of you. So let's say MLSS, there was someone who sold it.
Yeah.
We heard that it was Vanguard or some one of those places sold stock. That's what I heard when it was 500,000 shares. So they sold it. Once they sell it, they can't resell it, so it's over with. They're gone. So that's the difference. Finger motion, there are no long selling. The only selling we have is manipulation by Jeff Easton and his buddies and his mother. That's it. And they're doing it now with 100 shares and 500 shares. And I would do the same thing. Why not? He's offering it was 2 bid for 200. They hit it. There's 500 shares. 500 shares is $2. It's $1,000, right? That's it. They're moving the markets around in the stock, protecting it with 500 shares. That's all they're trying to do. There's no stock. The people that bought the stock, the big players, they don't even look at it. Everybody knows it's going to happen. We just don't know the day. And everything's moving in the right direction. We needed the president to be changed. President's been changed. He's changed in the cabinet. Guys, you've been here. Most people have been here for at least a year. We had the head of enforcement quit at the SEC. The head enforcement guy. What's he ashamed about? Why did he leave? He quit. He wanted that prestigious job. He got it. The chief at the SEC head of enforcement, and he quit. Now you get the head of the SEC quitting. Obviously, there's something major going on down here. Forget about Bitcoin. There's something else that's holding that these guys are running for the hills. Making a decision on Bitcoin that was, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, that's not going to affect anybody's positions. Meaning, it'll affect your position if it's positive or negative. I got it. But people that are, like, for example, people that own stocks. There's public companies that are affected. There's no public company attached to Bitcoin. There's people that invested in it as public companies. That's their business. They're gambling. But public companies that list in the U.S., that use the equity markets to raise money and capital and expand, they're all affected by stock settlement. It's hurting all these things. It's hurting, people working on, finding a drug, a cure for a disease. It helps everybody. It creates jobs in the small caps. There's opportunity. And it's super important that stock settlement would be, make it a legitimate market. There is none. It's completely fraudulent. John Tobacco said the other day that there's firms, stock loan firms, that'll make believe that they don't even have any shares to lend out. So imagine me and William open up our stock loan desk. We call it XYZ Security Lending. Someone calls us up, wants to borrow 1 million shares of Finger. We go, no problem. It's going to cost you $25,000 a week, and we need the payment wired in on day one, and we'll give you the stock. Okay, great. That's it. There's no one checking that I gave. You're sending me $25,000, and me and William have no stock. We're just going out to dinner with the money. It could kill us. What it does to the public company. That's what they're doing.
What's the difference between that and if you're breathing, you get a mortgage? It's the whole market is about creating money so the banksters can. I don't know. It's depressing. It's very depressing.
But it's affecting public companies, and it's affecting a lot of them.
Of course it is. I'm not.
I mean, listen, I'm not big on this MULN. I don't know the guy. I've spoken to him. I tried to help him out, and he needs a lot of money, obviously. But this stock, he didn't have a chance. They were attacking him, and he was raising money, debt spirals, and he just got run over. He had nothing. He couldn't do anything about it. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
These guys do it all the time. So I heard of a company. I just want to be ahead of here. If anybody can look into this, Nancy Robert Sam Nancy.
Yeah.
I heard that a toxic lender offered them $10 or $15 million. Nancy, that's a symbol. NRSN, $1.18 to $1.19. So that means that this stock, it's what's the name of the stuff? This is the firm. Well, who's the guy that financed Wolf? I forget the name of him. Yorkville. The Devils are offering these guys money. I'm just telling people, be careful. I said, dead spiral crooks, be careful. I like it when I hear it. I don't know anything about the company, what they're doing, but they, if they're going to take money from the Devils, they should not be, they should be shut down. These guys, they're terrible. So people are out here buying the stock, probably thinking it's good news, and that's what happens to them. They get killed. So I just stuck my nose out there and I told everybody whatever NRSN is. That's the story. I could kill us. That's another company going to go. That's going to go express like K&W. K&W got millions and millions of dollars. The stock went from 90 cents to 20 cents. It's never even lifted off the mat. They issued themselves free warrants, this, that, and the other thing. Isn't it strange that whatever that company's doing, it's piss poor business plan? I said, we just went from 60-something thousand to 85,000 and in figure motion. So obviously there was a wash trade here somewhere. I just missed it. If anyone see a big print, please let us know. It went from 69,000 William to 85,000. So 70, at least 15,000 went up somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So what time do you think you're going to be in New York tomorrow in the morning? 10 o'clock, you said?
10 o'clock. He wants me to see him at 10 o'clock, but all the trains were sold out. So I got the regional. I'll be there at 10:02.
Okay, so do what you got to do.
So I guess I'll be able to get to wherever he is by 10:30, and maybe it'll be too late. But he's going to be there all day. He's a friendly guy. I'm sure I can see him.
Listen, you can't get here. You got to do what the train's taking you. It's not your train. So.
Well, I might have been able to buy business class on the 5 a.m. regional. I didn't try that, but the coach was. Anyway, I tried to do it on the 505. I was unable.
You have to just do me a favor tomorrow. Text me. I have rehab, and I'll try to come and join you for dinner. This way, I get a chance to see it. Just let me know where you're going to be, and like I said, if I don't get a chance to speak with you, but good luck tomorrow.
Square pizza.
Questions. What's that?
Square pizzas.
I'm not driving you to Brooklyn to get a pie. That ain't happening. I could take you down to Spring Street. My friend owns Spring Street Pizza, so we can go down there. I can take you down there. He's got good pies. And he'll treat us like a celebrity if you care.
Yeah, celebrity. Let's go where
and he's one crazy bastard, so all good. But any questions from anybody about finger motion?
I've got to find the questions. I moved off of the page.
Everything else is sort of doing nothing. Finger motion has the event of the day tomorrow with William and the CEO. We're going to get all our questions answered, and I'm feeling very strong. The people that I know own a lot of stock told me the dividend's going to happen. So let's hear from the CEO. I don't want to make a statement until the CEO says it, but I would believe that the company put out a statement, the board of directors, and they were moving forward with it. So let's get the answer for the delay. And if there is a delay, we deal with it and we move forward. If the company's going to go through with it, it's outstanding. And the game goes on. That's it.
This guy, Vincent's asking about child trafficking, but when you think about it, one thing that, well, if it's financed through this crap, but if you think about it, the ability to sell stock that doesn't exist and then move those monies through washing and spoofing and crossing, you move money offshore, and yeah, maybe they're hiding their drug money and hiding illicit funds by doing that. I don't know. It's just so massive. How does this play out in Ham's opinion? Because if Patrick Burns doesn't get in,
listen, Patrick Burns is not going to be the head of the SEC. The guy's a billionaire. His family owned Geico, sold it to Warren Buffett. The guy is brilliant. His health has been deteriorating for years. All right. I never anticipated him to be a full-time SEC commissioner. Pat Byrne needs to come in to be, the head of the SEC. Pat Byrne needs to come in and specialize in one section, which he wants to do is stock settlement. So for 100 days as a consultant or some position like that, or teach him or figure out a way to close all these loopholes, Pat Byrne's a guy. We don't need him for 100 years. We can actually use him for 10 days. That's what we want to do. I'm not making Pat Byrne get a job because he worked for all of us. The guy's a billionaire already. He cashed out already, and he's not the healthiest guy in the world. And then there's someone trying to kill him. So people grow up. I mean, he's going to do his part. He's that type of guy. He doesn't quit. So whether they ask him to come in and do something small or big, we'll get an answer. Pat Byrne doesn't need to come here and make decisions on Bitcoin and this and that. That's a full-time job for somebody who wants to do that full-time. There's 100 different things. that, being head of the SEC, we don't care about 99% of them. We care about this 1%, which is stock settlement. And that's what needs to be changed. And that's what Patrick Byrne is. So Devin Nunes, people want Devin Nunes in here. I don't feel he understands it. I do believe Devin Nunes would be a great investigator. I think that if he ever gets in, that he would definitely investigate this thing. He says it, I should have been investigating this a long time ago. No kidding. Me and William were knocking on everybody's door, giving everybody information for a long time, right? And no one did anything about it.
DJT, top executives sold last week. What calls would you buy in DJT? A specific one that you would buy?
The 40s.
I know, but December, January, February?
I would buy them every week.
So you would just buy the 40s for the current week, and if they expire, they expire. Do it again the next week.
This way you don't have to worry about it. DJT is going to be an eruption. And it's going to be based out of what happens with Trump in Washington. Something's going to make it erupt. So do you want to buy a $3 option, and we're counting on something happening out of DC? Or do you want to buy a 30-cent option? To me, the 30-cent option, even though you make less money, you'll be part of the home run swing. And if you lose on the weekly, you're losing 10 options would be $300. 10 times 3. That's what it is. Times $30. You don't want to pay $300 for an option. You see what they do with those. They kill them every week. So buying a cheap call, maybe you could buy 5 or 30 cents and bid 20 cents for 5. I don't know. But the stock ticking down, the premium goes away. People are not playing the upside swing right now because there's nothing been happening for the upside home run swing. William, when the stock was $40, the 43s, William sold at $8. Remember that, William, with 2 days to go?
Yeah, I sold them at
Why
96
so,
or something.
What was Williams' option so expensive? Because everyone was anticipating Trump was going to win. There was an event. Well, the event is not here right now. The event is not here right now. And that's why the premium has disappeared. That's why the premium has disappeared. Do you understand that, William?
Of course I
The
do.
company was going for an FDA approval, and everybody knew it was going to happen on December 1st. The option premiums would be going crazy in the stock. Well, the same thing with DJT. We thought the president was going to win. We thought the stock would go crazy. Well, it didn't happen. When is it going to happen? We all know the shorts here. When is it going to happen?
Cobra, Frank Grady.
Between now and January something. And in any given day, Trump can say something, and that'll make the stock explode. And that's why the option premiums are tough. But also the option premiums have disappeared because everyone thinks the event has gone away. But the event is still lurking here. So you're paying 90% less because people don't understand what the event is anymore. The speculators aren't in the stock right now, correct?
I'm not, and I was the height of speculation.
All right. So you look at it.
The only reason I paid so much, I bought it on Friday or Thursday, is it was the cheapest one I could find. Anyway, it was a hyped market, and the excitement was about the election and if Trump won. But it's like any news. Once you can quantify the upside, the premiums disappear. When it's all fantasy, the stock runs. That's just human nature. But anyway, thank you for getting me to sell it.
The calls for this week, for example, the 34s are 25 cents. You don't have to buy the 40s. The 40s are 12 cents. You know, but why not? You can buy those at 12 cents. You're only risking 12 cents.
Buy the
You got
34s. I'm not as garbage calls
the
as
34s at 30 cents.
yeah. So you buy those. Next week you buy the 36s at 30 cents. Next week you buy the 38s at 30 cents, and eventually it hits, and you're rich.
Well, it's like playing roulette. You play your number until you think you hit it, right? That's the same type of thing. We don't have that much time between now and January 20th.
There's a numero 28 pizza on Carmine Street in Manhattan. Great rectangular pizza. Phil Roman says. Carmine Street. That sounds machine gunville.
Oh, we'll have to give it a try. We'll give it a try.
Numero
So
28.
I'll be there tomorrow afternoon. I won't be there till later in the afternoon. So, unfortunately, I have to go do my PT.
Got to make sure that knee survives for the next 150 years.
Yeah, it's going to be now. I'm going to leave it to you in my will. You can have it. I'm going to rip it out.
The whole experience of life is anyway.
Well,
I wonder if God has a fake knee. If we're made in his image, his knees must have given out at some point.
Just look at this way. We started out, everything was a party to your 20s, party, college, party. Then you go to work, you start working, you're making money, it's a party. Then all of a sudden, wait a second, what happened to me?
It's your telomeres. They get worn out.
That's exactly right. Oh, but you know what? Let's kill the company that can actually help extend your life. Nah, let's kill that company. No interest in that name.
Well, I guess that's about. I don't know how long you've been on, but it's about it for.
Well, listen, we're getting ready for tomorrow. There's an event tomorrow. We're speaking with the CEO. We're going to get answers. And Mrs. Easton was going to sit here and keep shorting, trying to hold it down, but she can't have it move up. Because as it moves closer to that 230 mark, she's got to come up with more money. She's got to call Jeffrey up, a little boy, and call him up and needs a loan. He's got to call Hancock in Australia. You know, I was looking at it this weekend, talking to someone in the legal. He's a detective in New York, and I was asking him about it. He goes, wire fraud. When you start sending money around, these guys that money they've stolen and sending it around in wires, because that's another big criminal charge, and that usually leads to RICO charges. So these guys, Jeff Easton, the guy Rockefeller, what's his guy's name? I forgot his name again.
Hancock. Rockefeller didn't sign the Declaration of.
I'm sorry. These guys have probably wire transfers coming out of their ass, sending them everywhere. Yeah, remember, these guys are not rookies who've been doing this for a while. They think the past goes away. It does not. Look at that guy from New Jersey, that guy Bill, hanged. The guy, they want to put him in jail for 21 years, that money manager, for stock manipulation. Andrew left, stock manipulation. He's going away for life. They got to start giving up everybody. Jeff Easton has been nothing but manipulating stocks. He's using the toxic note, the lending note, and the naked short selling market maker exemption to destroy and steal money for a long time. I'm sure his brokers would love to get a knock on the door. All the people that he's done trades through, it's going to be pretty easy to say, okay, you're giving about 20 million shares of stock to sell through. Let's say, I'm just going to make it up for a second. Let's say Maxim or Aegis or whatever one of those firms are. Who's the broker on that account? It's Joe Blow. Get him in here. Joe Blow, who gave you these orders? Oh, Jeff Easton. Remember that. You're under oath. You better give us the person who's giving you these orders. Who gave you the instructions? What were the instructions? Sell it as low as possible. Okay, why? Because that is a toxic note. Thank you. You got paid for it? Yes. Let's get it pretty easy. Then you go to the next guy, and the next guy, and the next guy, and then the prime broker. These guys think that this stuff is going away, Jeff Houston. All these sales lead back to him. The day that they called up Finger Motion, spoke with Benchmark, these guys are already shorting the stocks. So these guys are all tied together. And once they start talking, look how fast they start giving up everybody. Because if you don't, you're going to jail for 20 years. And Jeff Easton belongs to jail for life. He's destroyed so many companies, and he still doesn't even give a shit, this guy. That's because they're caught. They can't help themselves. They got their fancy lawyers. They're going to try to use our stolen money, like Hal Mintz from Savvy Management. How is that guy not in jail? I can't even figure that one out. How about the Kramers, this one, that one, Yorkville? These guys are all criminals. These guys lend money out and got returns that are monsters of lending money to public companies. It's like the producers. They make more money with a flop than a hit, right? That's what these guys are doing. That's their business plan right there. Well, William, I'll leave you at that. There's not too much more I can say all day. It's quiet. It's very quiet in the market today. I told you, DJT, I do expect something to happen. So owning cheap calls that are throwaways is the way. You don't have to buy the stock, or you can buy 1,000 shares of stock. Let's say it runs up 20 cents. You sell it. You buy the 34 calls for free. If you want to do it that way, all you have to do is one trade. You buy a dip, you buy the dip, sell the rip, sell it, buy the call, and you don't have to look at it till next week. When the options expire on Friday, if they do expire, you do it again for next week. That's it. Because at one point, they're going to come out and say something. And at one point, one day, you're going to say, oh my God, look at Root. It went from 40 to 120. That's what's going to happen to Trump one day. And that's what's going to happen to Finger Motion. Finger Motion is going to be faster because there's only one short seller in our name, and they're going to get roasted quick. Just like Root, it's going to gap and gap and gap. And that's what I've been looking at. I've never changed. It's the same story. We have unlimited upside potential here. Infinite. And these guys keep selling it. People, if someone says on the phone to me, how do you know they don't cover? We watch all the trades. You tell me where they covered. They didn't cover what they sold Friday yet. They haven't covered anything. Zero. Washing trades they're doing because they need more settlement time. And there you go. The stock just went $199 for 100 shares. At 202, 4,800 shares. It's the same. There's always selling in this name. There's more sellers in this name than there is in NVIDIA. And NVIDIA is under, they keep saying, is under all kinds of negative watch. And there's all the sellers are in this one. K&W is worthless. No one sells a share. It's standing here. Why not? Who would own this thing? We're telling you what they're going to do. They're going to reverse it and kill it. No sellers. Finger Motion, everything's positive. What happens? All we have is sellers here. They went, it was 202 for 4,800, William. That was the spoof. Now there's 2,000 over the 201. So if anyone thinks they're covering, they're just spoofing and trying to play games here with you at $2. The 199 bid left. That's the funny part. The 199 bid was there for 100 shares. He dropped. The 4,800 for sale at 202 is now down to 2,000 at 201. So the whole market changed in the stock. No trades happened, and the stock looks like it's lower because they dropped the bids. Does everyone understand that? It was 199 bid. Now it's 197 bid for the same 100 shares. Who puts a bid in for 100 shares and then cancels it? 100 shares, and you're canceling it. That's because it's a market maker. They don't want to show any strength in the stock. So unless you have buy orders every 30 seconds, you have to deal with this shit. And that's the manipulation that needs to be taken out of the marketplace. You know, these guys don't stand for anything. You put an order in, these guys are just spoofing, playing games all day long. There's got to be some penalties for spoofing. That's what they need to do. All right, so we went from 197 I'm just giving you how the stock hasn't traded. Now it's 197 good for 100 shares, and now there's 2,300 shares for sale at 201. So when they piled another 300 shares in here. And it's all being done to play with your head. That's all it's being done. To me, what they're doing, they're just shuffling the shares around. They're not doing anything. But I know it bothers people because you get a market down a penny or up a penny. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make you think that you're down a penny. It's going down another penny. Hurry up, bail out. Nothing's happened. The company hasn't even spoken yet. The company has entertained and contacted William about speaking tomorrow, correct?
Yeah.
So is that a CEO who's running and hiding, or someone that wants to speak? You made a public statement. He's going to speak. He's going to answer questions, and we're going to get our questions answered to the best of whatever we can do, right?
That's right.
But yet someone's running. Hurry up and get out. The stock hasn't had an update. It had one update last Friday, and on Monday they knocked it right back down. Hurry up, mark it back down. And that's since they rang the bell, the closing bell, the stock has been under attack. And that was $4. All on good news. Major deals with the Chinese government, the charge up on the phone, on the cars. Everything was negative. Negative. Everyone said buy China, finger motion, negative. Everyone else is positive. Finger motion, negative. Anything else, William? That's it?
That's it.
All right, everybody. I'm going to go get a sandwich, and I'll touch base with you later. All right?
All right.
If I see something, I'll call in, all right?
Yeah, I probably won't be on for more than half an hour.
Ready. Go get ready. Get yourself ready and get down to get up here.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Call ended.
I think you should go back to dating that Krylon or whatever on Battlestar Galactica and being the quisling human being who's killing humans on behalf of the machines. We didn't ask you. I mean, you can call it playing and leading on. I think it's actually you guys who make the money on the stock as it goes down. And I think you tune in because if there's going to be a run up, you want to be able to benefit by day trading, or as is popular now, swing trading to the downside. But, you know, I don't think I'm leading anyone on. I think the markets are completely broken by you. And there's rules out there that are not enforced. And I don't think they ever will be. I don't think Trump's going to change it. And I try to give a lot of thought to how to get it changed. But as long as the markets are looked at as an entire picture, they're not going to change it, because that would be like saying that you studied the the commercial banking system, and you suddenly realized, man, they lend out 10 times the money they have. And then you realize, on top of that, you realize that in fact, they're not limited to 10 times, because it used to be specie that was the counterbalance. Now they just print money. It's just bits in the computer so they can go to 100 to 1. There's no reason to have anything in the bank because it's all just printed. Everyone trusts it. And where you guys make your money is somehow the lobbyists for Goldman Sachs and Larry Fink have convinced Ann Wagner it's a data issue and it's a people's privacy issue. Well, I wonder if Ann Wagner ever goes to the airport. Her ugly mug gets screened on the computers as she walks in the lobby. I wonder if she ever uses Venmo. Her financial data is there. I wonder if she searches for some sort of injection she can put in her neck so it doesn't waddle anymore. That data's there. I wonder if she just says, I haven't read a book in 40 years. What book would allow me to learn the most about what's happened in society? That data's up there about her. If she sends in for purple colored glasses, that data's in there. The data is everywhere. But good for Ann Wagner. She draws the line at the CAT, the audited trail of trading. She draws the line. That's where you make your money. And you hang out with those beautiful blonde machines. You're a human. And you're trying to kill the other humans. I think you're well named, very well named. And I'm not playing. I think you're playing, but I'm not playing. And I don't think I lead people on. Your appointment with Martin is at 10. Well, David, you're a pretty smart guy. I'm impressed with your ability to of analysis. Martin asked me if we could meet at 10 a.m. in Midtown. He's there all day. He's actually, I think, there for 2 days. And so I said, sure, let me see. I got on the computer. There was one ticket left on a Acela at 5 a.m. I immediately tried to buy it for tomorrow, 5 a.m. Get in at 8. In the middle of that ticket at that price is no longer available. So I converted to my desktop and it's still the same problem. So then I said, all right, I'll do the 6 a.m. Acela. And that would get me in a little after 9. I said, that'll work. So not available. Now I could pay $686 for a ticket. I wasn't going to pay $700 for that ticket. I'm not even sure it was available any more than the $286 business class ticket was available. So I tried to buy the 505. I think I clicked business. I think I clicked coach, but coach, if you wanted to protect coach, if you canceled or missed the train, you had to pay more. So the difference between business and coach was $50 or something. I can't remember, but I tried to, and I couldn't get it. Now, that's when I was using my small computer. I then switched, went through signing in. I used my laptop. I never went back and tried again on the 505. I said, to myself, you're never going to get up at 3:30 a.m. and be able to get there at time. That's asking too much. So I looked at the I think it's the 605 regional. I have to look. Maybe the 7 read. I don't remember. Whatever was available, I booked it. It gets me in to Moynihan Station at 10 a.m. plus 2 minutes. I will be 20-minute cab ride, maybe 25-minute cab ride away from Martin Shen. So that's a dilemma. How am I going to meet him at 10 a.m.? I'm not. I'm going to meet him at 10:30, or I'm going to say, Martin, I'm here. Where do you want to meet? Can you give me an hour? Or Martin, do you want me to meet you after lunch? I guess, David, we're just going to have to play it by ear like two adults. I think I might have been able to get a ticket on the 505 regional, maybe. I tried to. I got frustrated. I gave up. I switched computers. And in the switching, I said, you know what? Before it's sold out, I'm going to see if there's a ticket on the 7 a.m. I think I'm on the. Let me look at my itinerary. They should have emailed it to me. At the time, I didn't know. I was doing it before the dog place opened up. I didn't know for sure if they'd take my dog, so I wanted to make sure I could return my ticket. Let me just Google by Amtrak. I don't see my ticket. All right, let's go Amtrak booking. Oh my gosh. Let me go to my Amtrak account. I bought it. Maybe I. So I'm telling you, it was hard to get these tickets. I paid for it. All right, let's see. Okay, so 279 875 oh gosh 990 279. Okay. Save. All right, send a text. It's such a nightmare. Such a nightmare. It looks like I might not have a ticket, so I may have to see him later in the day. My trips. Home. I may not have a train. Um, Let me see if I bought it. I know it might go to my old email address. That might be where it's going. Yeah, I paid for it. So I have the train. I just don't know how to find out. I have no idea how to find out which one it is. They obviously sent it to my old email. So I'll have to track it down. I did buy it. Here it is. E-ticket. There it is. So I paid $74 extra for business class, which means it cost me about 50, maybe $40 more than making the coach fully refundable. I don't know what business does. I leave at 6:30 a.m. So I leave at 6:30 and I get at 10:02, David. So I will be late for his 10 a.m. appointment request. And I don't know what to tell you. He said, I'll slide stuff around to help us meet up. So he's being good. I didn't make it for his trip. I just didn't make it. It's just how it is. He's got a full day and I'm screwing up his schedule. You haven't lost any money. You've made a killing in GTII and Finger. You have made a bloody fortune. That's not true either. That's just not true. It's just not true. So I think you're just simply lying. But if it is true, it's not over with Finger. My own view on Finger motion is that you have a chance to double your money in Finger motion, possibly this year. But I think if you're paying attention, which you're not, I've shared my view on it. I did an interview with Martin Shen in the summer. He did other interviews too, so you don't have to just listen to mine. There's better interviews out there. Finger motion has several drawbacks. One, they did business with your friends at the Lynn Partners. I think they've tried to clean that up as much as possible. However, the hedge funds, the 4 clients that Jeff Easton apparently admitted that he had, the 4 hedge funds, they're so heavily short that stock and they call you in to help keep it down that it begins to have its own momentum. They need the coverage of Jeff Lynn's lying document and lying lawyers, in my judgment, to open the accounts at the prime brokers. Hey, check those boxes. And then they call guys like you up to come in and help short. That that is what gets the avalanche started. That's what loosens up the ice and the snow at the top of the mountain. But once that avalanche starts really getting going, they don't need that. They don't need that node anymore. It goes down because of its own momentum. Companies can't raise capital like MULN, MMAT without further dilution. If there's a problem, they call you in and you drive it down. They guarantee your trade. They cross it all over. But the key is keep the per share value of anything that the CEO does negative. And they do it, you know that. That's how you make your living. So that's number one. They did a business with the liars at the Lind Partners, New York City. The absolutely full of baloney, lying some bitches and women at some beaches and some bitches at the Lind Partners, New York City. Number one problem. That caused, I saw it in 10 days, that caused 100 million shares to be sold that don't exist when the stock was at 9. And if you didn't get out when it traded up, I mean, that's kind of on you, isn't it? Secondly, the problem finger motion has, in my judgment, you can't explain it. What is finger motion? Well, it's a company that does top up, it does this, it does that, and it's got this, and it's that, and blah, blah, blah. That's a problem. People say, well, call me back when you can answer that question. I think that question is going to start to be answered just by the volume of revenues that come either out of data or government contracts, which might be because of the data systems. So it'll either be the insurance business or the government contracts. But we'll find out. The third problem with finger motion has been, in general, it's a stock that it's a company. It's a U.S. stock, but they do business in China. They started out in the gaming side, and they've slowly built up their relationships. They've moved, gotten better contracts. They have a very loyal investor base. But there's been, for at least a couple of years, a tremendous negativity toward investing in China, which is the correction, or it's permanent, I don't know. It's a correction when everyone wanted to invest in China. But are we going to war with China? Are we going to go to economic war with China? Is China in a recession? Is China going to drop off the face of the planet? Are Chinese people suddenly fat, lazy, and tuned into The View all day and watching TikTok, or are they hardworking? Is China turning the Gobi Desert into trees? Is China coming up with ways to get water? Has China made agreements to have energy just pouring in from Siberia to fund all of their factories? Is China truly a giant which is going to stop being productive? I don't know. That's a debate. But for the time being, people don't necessarily want to invest in China. So combined with that sort of total idea, that macro idea, that global idea that China's not a place to invest, finger motion specifically got somewhat hurt because a lot of their business was driven, at least in its nascent products, in business text messaging, business advertising, business. Well, China got shut down. China was shut down longer than the United States of America. And it only opened back up in May of this year fully. So a lot of things, and I'm giving you by my memory. You can do some homework and find out when. But they opened up their economy again. So it's only starting to come back where people are traveling, working, international executives are coming in, scientists are coming in, they're getting the data. So there's been some negatives in finger motion that you can see on a fundamental basis. But the biggest negative is guys like you spoof, sell stock that doesn't exist, move stock around, create FUD, lie, and just in general have no conscience. That's what happens. Now, what I remember, and this is why I'm optimistic for Finger, is that Martin said in his interviews, and I think I can quote, I think I wrote it down, and I think I can quote exactly what he said in June. The China electric vehicle market is huge. The Dajia app developed for the consumer, Sapientus timeline for monetizable product, wealth of data. At that time, 6 to 9 months timeline. Okay, he said, we had, and I've written it down, I'm not guaranteeing it's an exact quote, I just wrote it down, had hopes for earnings to turn positive in the last year, which ended February of this year. But it didn't happen. He said, we are cautiously optimistic we'll reach that point by this year. Then he said, I am very confident that we'll reach the point where earnings are positive this year. Now, that means by the end of February. That's their year. They're on a month-end February annual reporting basis. So my belief is in their third quarter, our fourth quarter, their fourth quarter, our first quarter, they're going to turn positive. And once that happens in earnings, and once that happens, it's predictable and it helps define the largest source of revenue in the company, the stock is going to be revalued at a new level. That's my opinion. And so I think it can go from 2 to 4. Of course, as long as you guys keep selling it, it can go to $1.80, $1.50. And you will keep selling it. Make no mistake about it. But Martin Shen no longer takes money from Wall Street. He no longer funds the company with your buddies. So eventually, he will break out of this hole they're in, and the whole year in. Do you remember that from leaving Las Vegas? The whole year in, and he's looking at it, and he was drunk, and he thought it said the whole year in. Anyway, all right, let me keep going. Well, I don't think you looked. Don't think you looked. David, I'm worried about World War III. I don't think Biden knows what he signs. I just read War, which is just a paean to how great he is. Um, uh, uh, if we coordinate the delivery of medium range missiles into Russia using our satellites, I've given it some thought. I don't think it'll be Washington, D.C. I don't think it'll be New York. But I think New Jersey, Virginia, North Carolina, Putin will launch missiles into the United States just to tell us we're not safe. And that'll be World War III. You want your money back now? From whom? From whom? Where's the wrong? Where's the wrong? If you own Finger still, it doesn't cut it to double your money to $4. What the hell did you pay for Finger? Were you the idiot that bought it at $9, the very high of the last year? Or did you pay $17 when it went there? Are you that idiot? If you bought Finger listening here and built a position, your price is in the $2, $3, $4, $5 range. And if it doubles from here, you haven't lost any money. You think the market is risk-free? Not with you guys shorting it. The market's not risk-free. It's not risk-free. And if somebody told you the market was risk-free and you believed it, I bet there's women out there that tell you you're good looking. Wipe out losses in GTII? You did it. But were you listening to me? Probably not. I tried with every bit of emphasis I could give to suggest that it was time to take losses in GTII in the, I don't know, remember 80 cents, 60 cents, 40 cents, even down in 20-cent range. I was still saying it, and I gave an alternative, which you guys have destroyed. But for people who switched into Logic, I think Logic has a tough period of time here because they announced a VWAP deal. I no longer believe that that's going to destroy the company. Why? Because I think the people behind it know what they're dealing with. And once we get through the tax loss season, I think Logic is a 50-cent stock next year, give or take 10 cents. But you want it now because you're a spoiled brat. Of course, you're used to selling stock you don't own, covering it the same day, and taking that money out on the town. Good for you. Not all of us are criminals. And not all of us can live with ourselves by being a criminal. Now, if you're still in ZJYL, that is down. I don't know if you're in it. You bought it, sold it, traded it. But ZJYL is down. So you face the choice, Baltzar. You haven't lost all your money. You haven't lost all your money. At most, you've lost half. But if you're one of those idiots that always buys the top price, maybe you lost more. But you haven't lost it all. You can take it out and do another trade. I would guess ZJYL though is going to move. As soon as you sell it, it'll be $10. So why don't you sell it so the rest of us can make some money? And please, if you want to go down to the SEC with me, you'll have to give me your real name first. You and I can walk in and we can file a complaint against you for your trading in Finger, your trading in GTII, your trading in ZJYO and others. I'm glad to go with you. Hey, John. It's on me. Well, now you're explaining your thought process. You were greedy and you wanted to squeeze. And there's no question 2 years ago now that I believed in the story of the short squeeze. I believed it. But as you know, Baltazar, your friend up in New York City, Lou Bravo, who you paid off, the CEO of Cosmology, COSM, you paid off or bribed. He took $35 million out of the market, $35 million. And then Frank Benedetto. I don't know how it all worked, but the power of money came in, bought those guys off. Lou said, and I never met you before, by the way. Lou said to buy it, he said to sell it. So you listened to Lou to buy it. My discussion wasn't about buying the stock. It was about if you're already in it, this is what I thought. Also, I think you need to take money off the table. But obviously you don't listen. Your greed is so massive that you only listen to what you want to hear, which is the upside. But it's you guys that made sure that this piece of shit company, you came out here through those three men and said that by changing the name, it's going to squeeze. Changing the CUSIP, it's going to squeeze. The CEO's not going to do a deal with the shorts. That the company has contracts. Wow, contracts. And it's going to be a huge squeeze. Take your profit, could then come back. Well, it stopped the squeeze in Finger, Baltzar. And I'm getting bored with this conversation. Finger Motion had issued a special dividend as a warrant. Fidelity was paying 1,000% to borrow Finger Motion shares to honor that warrant as people were exercising. Finger was in trouble. Wells Fargo took the buy button away. It was happening. But you guys, very cleverly, I think, paid off these other gentlemen to stop the squeeze. Simultaneously, you did it on GTII. That's my opinion. And I think the evidence is there. I'm not angry. Oh yeah, that's it. They should ban YouTube and let you continue to rip people off. That's the answer. They should let you continue to make easy money without risk by day trading through the market maker exemption with a hedge fund guaranteeing your return, and you just destroy people's investment. And of course, Baltazar, you don't need medicines. You don't need a strong economy. You don't need health care. You don't need reading material. You don't need new cars. You don't need emphasis. You don't need anything because you're the sainted short. Well, I would give you credence, Baltazar, if you didn't take your name from a fictional character who joined the evil side in Battlestar Galactica, I would take you more seriously. It's always the next. No, I didn't say that. That's not true. For a year, I have not said that. And I don't think it'll be this quarter that we're in right now that he will be profitable. What I'm saying is that I believe that the entire year he'll turn a profit. You'll know about that. The latest you'll know about that's 45 days from the end of February. So that's April 15th. Once it turns positive, the human beings are going to win, not the cold-blooded machines. It's a good thing he could go short it. All right. I've already used too much time up. And David, thanks for your comment. I appreciate it. So the Saudi enigma of 20 years ago is still true today. But I think it's more fantasy today than not. We have about 1 million to 2 million extra barrels of global output of oil per day. That's the spare capacity, and we think it's Saudi Arabia. Well, Iraq has some. Libya, because of Hillary, probably still has a little bit. The UAE has a little bit. The Permian Basin did. I'm not sure how much it still has. If we get a recession, it will mask that. And by definition, if prices of oil go up, demand will go down. However, and I got a copy of this book, which I've read many times. For the past 3 years, this is 20 years ago, past 3 years, oil investment banker Matthew Simmons has publicly questioned whether Saudi oil wells really contain all of the oil that Saudi claims. He reviewed 200 Saudi technical papers who worked in Saudi Arabia fields. The country, this is Saudi Arabia, the country's 5 major oil fields, including Garwar, the largest oil field ever discovered, have produced the core of Saudi production. But oil field operators are injecting millions of barrels of seawater each day in order to maintain pressure within the other underground systems. This practice maintains extraction levels. However, the aging Saudi fields, all discovered between 1940 and 1965, are inevitably being depleted. All discovered 80 years ago, 60 to 80 years ago. When the inevitable decline in extraction rates begins, seawater injection could actually accelerate the process, resulting in rapid drop-off in oil available for the export market. Simmons' statements were evidently so worrisome that Saudi officials arranged a high-profile symposium at the Center for Strategic and International Studies in DC, right up the street. They stated that Saudi fields are robust and are able to meet increasing petroleum demand for decades to come. Well, if that's true, why did they take Aramco public? Saudi officials even took the extraordinary step of announcing that official reserve estimates of 261 billion barrels of recoverable oil are low. We'll talk about, I don't have time today, but that number from the jump was exaggerated. For this claim to be credible that that's a low number, independent analysts will have to see credible evidence of spectacular new discoveries in Saudi Arabia. There's no word on that. Unless such evidence emerges, it would be safe to characterize the Saudi statements as an act of desperation. Maybe, but on the other hand, this was 20 years ago. We're 20 years later. So does that mean we got a grace period of 20 years or that he was just crazy? We'll talk about it when I get that book and I'll read it to you. Sadat Al-Husseini, VP of Aramco, noted that U.S. forecasts for future Saudi oil supplies, which assume that Saudi Arabia can expand its oil production by 100% over the next 2 decades, are, quote, a dangerous overestimate. Oil's depressing outlook. Even as questions are being raised about global oil supply, demand is inexorably growing. This is 20 years ago. China is currently increasing its oil imports by 30% per year. In 2003, China surpassed Japan to become the world's second foremost oil importer. And Shanghai, oddly, banned bicycles from its main streets for people to use automobiles. There are several, in 2004, several mega projects in deep water oil fields to come on stream in 2006. So we could see a stabilization. I would argue that the Permian, the biggest change that happened in the Permian, other than horizontal drilling and fracking and all that crap, is that the Texas Railroad Commission allowed the exploitation of all zones at the same time. So these wells, which used to be limited to production from one zone, had to drain, then the next zone, then the next zone. It resulted in the Permian Basin being the marginal excess supply or the pricing for oil. And remember, oil is manipulated just like your stocks, so that there's paper contracts. It's priced on the margin. The pricing of oil does not reflect the decision, the price, which will lead to decisions of conservation on our part, where we live, for example, or for investment in new supplies. It's all manipulated by banksters like Baltzar. if high prices lead to a global recession, that leads to a drop in demand. That could lead to lower prices, but it will be a temporary effect. From a long-term perspective, burgeoning demand is on a collision course with emerging supply constraints. He says $60, $80, even $100 per barrel oil is possible in the near term. There are discoveries in Eastern Africa, the subsalt in Brazil. There's rumors of Arctic discoveries. And of course, Trump's out there saying that we have more oil and gas than anybody in the world, which may, according to the US geologic estimates, may be true. But we're going to have to discover technologies that get that oil out. And I know Exxon is pursuing nano technologies to extract oil. And if we have a breakthrough there, great, great. When will the actual global peak in oil production occur? In the original edition of Heinberg's The Party's Over, I surveyed several forecasts and cited a window of 2006 to 2016. That didn't work. We're in 2024. The latest data, he says, will be in the earlier years. It didn't happen. And I think two things happened. Well, let's call it three things. One is we had the financial crisis in the United States. So Helicopter Ben and folks started printing money. Interest rates went to zero. The idiots on Wall Street thought they found the next new product where they could raise money from you, pay you 8%, give themselves bonuses, and it was drilling in the tight sands. It only made sense because of cheap money, but it did bring volume of oil and gas, and it spread around the world. Different places in the world started mimicking it. Secondly, Saudi Arabia started fighting the shale oil, so they produced more, which I think is at their long-term peril. Thirdly, we went through a bit of a recession. So demand maybe did come down. But I think the whole idea of moving to EV and all this took hold in people's minds. And it looked like we're not going to need oil anyway. That's all going to change. There will be a panic. We have been in a petroleum plateau for 30 years. Once we're off the plateau and on the downward skid, things will get interesting indeed. All right. We'll talk more about that as it goes. Let me look. I made some notes here on some of the questions you asked. One guy's asking repeatedly about GTII. GTII is a completely failed trade. It round tripped. It went up to $9, $8.97. And then Lou, Frank Benedetto, COSM CEO, told you the hottest thing since investing was COSM. Everybody popped the bubble on that one. But there's other things. I'm not blaming them. They're just one aspect. Alpine took over the trade. Alpine filed lawsuits. It looks like the CEO may have misappropriated funds and shares. It looks like the the hedge fund guy came in to interfere. A lot of different things happened. So anyway, that trade's over with. It failed. It went up to 9. I thought it was going to squeeze. And did I sell? No. I thought it was going to go. I was listening to him. I was listening to my own, wow, look what's happening feelings. And I really think it was on the verge of running. But you can't test that hypothesis. It's not a laboratory. Those 3 guys said, hey, let's go over to COSM. And everybody did. 35 million came out of the market for the CEO at COSM. And look what it did for the stock. So anyway, that stock, a GTII, is a complete washout. It's a completely failed trade. Completely failed. Now, you may not want to take your losses. It's up to you. But you have an opportunity this year to establish losses. And they can be worth up to 50 cents a share at 50% of your cost basis. If you paid $2 a share, might be worth $1 a share in reduction of taxes you have to pay on profits. But if you don't want to do it, just sit here and complain, sit and complain. The other thing is it can become an investment. And I guess Richard Hoffman and the receiver, according to him, Richard came up with an idea. The whales are financing it. I don't know what the arrangement is, but they're going to go after what they can find. It's an expensive contract in my judgment, but at least they're doing it. And I don't expect much money will come to shareholders. There might be. It'll mostly go to lawyers, receivers, judges, whatever. We'll see. But by the way, those guys are also setting it up with their work to bring in the whales and maybe bring in a company, and then it's a new investment. It's not a continuation of the trade. It becomes a new investment. And it might make sense. It might make sense. All right. Nixie did have a dividend. I'm not going to pull it up because I'm running out of time. Damn it. I don't have time to do everything. I'll get the exact name for you. By the way, that MLSS, I looked at the chart. I showed it to you. I think MLSS is hitting support. So it might be worth, I don't know where you want to buy it, but that might be worth buying it. Oh, darn it. News. It's too slow. Let me go to Yahoo. Okay, so they spun off Cogno Group. And you can always find these just by going to Yahoo News. They spun it off as of the record date, November 15th. So for people who owned Nixie in their account, and I think it had to be settled on November 15th, you will receive some percentage, and it's not defined, of Atlantic Energy Solutions, AESO, as a dividend. Now, AESO is a piece of junk. It trades for next to nothing. .018. But what's interesting, it's up today. What's interesting about it, there might be a pressure to have to buy those shares to deliver them. So that might be a trade. I'm not getting involved in that. But that might be a trade if a broker dealer has to locate shares of Atlantic Energy Solutions whose name is being changed. Maybe they have to start buying that stock, and that's an interesting thing to follow. So yeah, that dividend was made at the record date was Friday. I talked about GTII, talked about, somebody wanted to sell ZJYL for Nixie. I wouldn't do that. I think ZJYL still has all things in place. Remember, ZJYL, GDC they're meaningless fundamental stories. The story in general is that a group of investors own the majority of the float, even more than the float. So what's going on? I think in the case of ZJYL, they did a 200-for-1 forward split, something like that. So I don't think the story's over in either one of those. NVIDIA, I want to talk about the overall market. I think we're still on the verge of a 25 to 50% rally in the markets that are just it's going to be all anybody's talking about. Everybody talking about Trump is great. America's back. Whoever's the Treasury Secretary, everything's awesome. That's when you get out of the market. That's when you buy puts. That's when you go to gold and silver. That's where you go to cash. You can even go to Treasury bonds in the short run. When everybody else is buying and it's coming, you're going to want to lighten up. And NVIDIA, I think, is probably going to go up. I'm not saying it will. I wouldn't buy NVIDIA. But as money goes to these markets, it'll go up. The problem is with NVIDIA, as it's known, is it's at a 70 price to earnings ratio, 70x, 70 times. That's ridiculous. I think if you want to stay in that business, Intel might be the story to look at, and I don't have time to go over it with you. I'm not conversant in it enough to tell you the bullet points, but I have a research report to go over with you. But Intel's out of favor. If you want to stay in the disk business, whatever it's called, Intel inside, NVIDIA outside business, that might be a swap to make. And I really emphasize NIX, NIXX. If you want a year-end trade, NIX is the one to look at, in my opinion. Let me go through these. I don't know anything about SCLX. Don't get me started on the so-called finger dividend. I won't. I'll take you up on that. Hey, Susan, thank you very much. Tired of the nonstop positive in these stocks that never materialize, but keep us holding and holding. Dun, 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 dun. Get out of my life. Why don't you, babe? You just keep me holding on. If you want to hold, do it in private. Thank you, Steve. Hey, PS71. Well, that's true. That's the dichotomy. We're trying to make money, but we're also trying to fight the fight. Those are really, those two objectives dovetail, but they also kind of are out on separate wings too. Yeah, isn't that something? The good news. Look, the problem is there's no price discovery. The markets are destroyed. Um, it's a hell of a thing. Personal responsibility. Some people have it, and some people don't have it. Set me free, why don't you, babe? You just keep me hanging on. Get out of my life, why don't you, child? You just keep me hanging on. Logic looks like shite right now. I don't know where the price is, but hear me out. Hear me out. The stock is, the bid is basically 1.5 pennies. Donna, I got very cautious, I don't know, a week or so ago when they announced the financing with the value weighted average pricing. That means guys like Balthazar will go in, sell stock they don't own, borrow stock they don't own, and just keep hitting the bid, crossing, and there's money to be made. And they don't have, as long as they have a market maker to work with and they have a hedge fund backing them, they don't have any risk. But anyway, Donna, I'm absolutely convinced that Logic will be aiming to be a 40 to 50 to 60 cent stock next year. I'm not telling you to turn it into an investment, although that's kind of what it's become. But I would summarize it by, if you're buying, I don't think you should, it's not, I can't give anybody financial advice personally, but I wouldn't sell Logic. I think it's too hard to trade. But I mean, if you're looking for tax losses, do what you need to do. But I wouldn't chase it up to buy it either, because I think there'll be tax loss selling and I think there'll be short selling. However, as they've got 7 deals they need to put into this company, and I'm more and more convinced that the brain power behind what they're doing knows perfectly well they do not want to have a huge expansion. There'll be an expansion, but they don't want this huge dilutive expansion that Balthazar and his friends seek. So I'm optimistic on Logic. I think it's going to be a tough 6 weeks, but next year I think it'll be fine. And it might be fine sooner. Might be fine sooner. Well, you know, Balthazar, it wouldn't bother me if you never watched me again. I think you and I finally are in agreement. If you don't want to watch, it'll bother me a little bit, but it won't break my heart. You'll be better off. XRP. Okay. in addition to financial ruin and broken family, I guess I have privilege of being called a short and an idiot by William. Just great. I said, if you paid the high on all those stocks and didn't sell, yeah, I said you're an idiot. I did say that, but you're so smart, you probably didn't do that. I do think you're a short. I do think you're a short. But if you want to give me your real name, we can talk about it. And if I'm wrong, I'll apologize. Hey, Julian. We'll leave this up. I think Ham made a lot of people money in Wolf. I think that's something I said. I think people are making money in silver. It's not over in Fingers, ZJYL, GDC, Nixie. I think I'm trying to remember some of the other stocks. I think people made money in DJT. But anyway, listen to Balthazar. He's been here for one morning, and you don't know his name, but I think he cares about you.
Don't you, baby, get out my life? Why don't you, baby? You really don't want me. You just keep me hanging on. You really don't need me. You just keep me hanging on. Why do you keep coming around, playing with my heart? Why don't you get out of my life and help me to make a new start? Let me get over you the way you got over me. Set me free, why don't you, baby? Get out my life, why don't you, baby? You realize just keep me hanging on. You never, never, never needed me. You just keep me hanging on. You said when we broke up, you just wanted to be friends. But tell me, how can we still be friends when seeing you just breaks my heart again? And there ain't nothing I can do about it.
Set me free. Why don't you, babe? Yeah, but everything I can. All right, I'm gonna try to go get ready for my trip to New York, and you know, you don't have to listen to any of the ideas. I don't blame you if you don't. And, there's no reason to keep hanging on. No reason to keep hanging on. And I do believe, I've told you, I think Nixie is the stock to buy for a trade. I think Logic is going to be fine. Might take a little longer. I think Finger is going to hold not good enough. He's looking for.
You really don't need me. You just keep me hanging on. You really don't need me, baby. You just keep me hanging on. Set me free, why don't you, baby? Set me free, why don't you, baby? Have my life, why don't you, honey? You just keep me hanging on. Hey, baby.
So I think there's some trades left. I'm gonna go try to get my dog arranged and get it to New York and give an interview on Chicken Paul Star. If you're in New York, you're welcome to come down. You can sit and interview with me. And Martin can come on down. And you can ask questions of Martin next. And I think anyone that bought Finger at 9, and then oh, what's this? What's this? It's another good song. It's another good song. Quietly now, I like turn the page. This is great. and relax. I guess so. My dad said we were ridiculous, but boy, we broke apart. We wait for us to faces stare back at me. And it's made it late as the night. Been home all my precious time. And blamed it on I was waiting out. I could never reach that. Uh, uh, that grand first time. All right, I'm going to sign out. I could never. All right, I'm going to wish everyone peace around the world. And next time I see you, will probably be from New York City, where the girls are pretty.